Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker. Very glad you're joining us. Very glad Father Willie Todd is here with us. Father Todd, thanks again.
Well, good to be here.
Yes, sir. You know, it's one of those things where we were talking about how Ash Wednesday is the beginning of Lent, and Lent's going to lead us right into Easter. And you mentioned a really good point, how Lent is very often where so many people really focus more. But I think the focus really needs to, it's not just about the ashes, and it's not just the ashes on Ash Wednesday. But Father Paul made a comment in Mass today. He said, we want to celebrate Mass and pray for clarity. And the ashes are just for a way to renew our lives and live out the gospel.
Right.
And I think it goes exactly to your point about what we need to do to be more Christ-like.
Right. A lot of times I tell people the ashes aren't going to do anything to you, okay? In other words, you can dump a whole bunch of ashes on, but they're a sign that you want to change. And that's the point. I mean, you can put all kind of ashes on, but the ashes are not miraculous things that are going to change you.
Right.
But it's like a commitment. I often call it like a commitment card.
Okay.
That you sign and say, I'm gonna do this.
Right.
Okay.
Dedicated to this.
Dedicated. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then so the point is that during Lent you're gonna look at yourself and pick those things out that are not of Christ, not Christ-like. Right. And willing to try to change them. Now, to do that, there's a little three-step process to do that. First of all, you have to name it.
Yep.
You know, I mean, if you don't name it, you're not going to be any, you know.
It's going to be much more difficult to change it if you don't.
Yeah. And then you have to claim it. You know, in other words, let's say if a person is. You know, like look down upon others. I think they're better than others, something like that. Well, okay, you have to say, okay, I that's me. I'm looking down on people, and that's me.
Right.
And then after that, you know, you have to ask God to help you cast it out, because we can't do it by ourselves.
Right.
But the first thing, if we don't name it, you know, we won't move.
We've got to make sure we're specific about it. It is this thing that I'm having an issue with.
Yeah.
Mine is anger and not listening.
Okay.
And my self-reflection said, Keith, you're not doing a great job with this. And I'm a social worker. Right. I'm supposed to. But one of those things that I find that I want to skip the steps of listening to see what steps to take, I want to immediately just take the steps. It's like skipping the naming part. Yeah, like I want to go past it. I want to get back to fixing it. Well, you got to name it first, and claim it.
Right, and then you can, you know, then you can ask God to help you cast it out. But unless we name it and claim it, I mean, it's going to stay with us. We'll be next year the same thing.
Right.
Same thing over and over and over and over. And there's so many different things. I mean, you know, there's bitterness, anger, jealousy. Addictions, you know, lusts, you know, but being grandiose, you know, think you're better than everybody else. Maybe we can go a whole lot, and everybody's different. You know, for one person has one problem, another person has another problem.
Right.
But none of us are perfect. You know, that's the thing too. You know, so there's no one magic solution for all. I mean, it's the process is one solution.
Right.
But if somebody has, I mean, just giving up candy or alcohol or whatever, of itself is not going to help unless you may be an alcoholic.
Right.
That'd be a good thing to give up. Or you're on drugs, that'd be a good thing to give up drugs.
Right.
I mean, that might be a start.
But those are all steps to other things getting better.
But if you're, let's say, a moderate drinker, and that's fine if you want to do that, but that's not that's not hitting your problem. What's your real problem?
Yeah.
I mean, if alcohol is not your problem, you give up alcohol. Well, you know.
Yeah. What are we really doing?
Well,
right?
Yeah. What are we doing?
Are we really serious about this process?
We're playing games.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the other really interesting thing about that is that the church has lots of ways to kind of keep us connected to the cross.
Right.
And we start with Ash Wednesday and the sign of the cross, but we also have options for Mass and daily Mass, and options for Way of the Cross, and being able to see that and going through the stations of the cross on Fridays. There are options for us, and there's reminders along the way. Let's talk about abstinence.
Okay.
Because I think people get confused about, they think abstinence is that they're supposed to have crawfish every Friday instead of abstaining from meat.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of times people, it's problematic in our area. I mean, let's face it, because we have seafood that a lot of times you go to a restaurant, you order the seafood, not the steak. You know? So sometimes it's really not a big deal to give up meat. I mean, if you order crawfish, etouffee, or whatever it's like that. So you have to let the punishment fit the crime in a way.
Right.
But I mean, it is a general penance that knows that everybody's doing the same thing. At least that we kind of say we're in this together. But we're trying together,
and following some of those things, and just taking a very serious look at who we are. What we want to change, and be able to name it and claim it and ask for help and prayer to remove it. And that's the best thing that we can do. And be very serious about that for ourselves. And nobody else. Like, what you think of me is none of my business. This my relationship with God is, though. And being able to be better about that.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So, Father, we always appreciate your insight and all the things that you've written about and all the things we've been able to talk about over the years. So thanks for coming to spend some time with us and help us get a better perspective.
Well, I'm glad to do it.
We appreciate it. So Lent and Easter, some very positive, beautiful times.
Definitely.
All right. All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment. Do not go anywhere. A whole lot more local programming right here on HTV.